Okay, so let's start off the first in the series of 6 videos about earned value analysis. This slide set focuses on introducing the concept of what EVA is. Presently, right now, if you're managing a project, there is always a need for accurate and consistent project status information. It is further complicated primarily because a project manager, unlike before, right now is managing multiple projects at the same time. These projects will have a lot of activities in their WBS, and what also compounds it is that sometimes the members of the project are not physically in the same place. The project manager has to manage people from different locations. So let's see now why it's important to properly report the status of a project. So let's assume that you are a project manager of a project wherein you are tasked to upgrade 10 computers. You were given 1,000 man hours as your budget, and you are given 4 weeks to complete all of the upgrades. Okay. So 2 weeks have passed, and you've already used 600 man hours. Your boss comes up to you and asks you, how's the project doing? That question is essentially a very valid question, primarily because what your boss is asking you is, are there any problems that we're encountering now? Because if there are problems that we're encountering right now, it's easier to fix your problem now rather than later in the project timeline. So, when your boss or your client asks you, where are we in the project, they are essentially asking the question, how's the progress of the project? And in order for us to measure progress, there will always have to be a standard against which this progress or movement forward is going to be compared against. There is a tool in project management called Earned Value Analysis, or EVA, which allows us to establish a baseline for us to measure the progress of our project. Okay, so now let's go back to the project that I gave as an example. Let's assume you have 12 computers to upgrade. I changed the 10 to 12 so that computation later on will be simpler. You were given 1,000 man hours. You were given 4 weeks to complete the project. Essentially, it's around 250 man hours per week. It's at the end of week 2. You've already used 600 man hours and already installed 3 computers, but you've done those 3 computers in the first 2 weeks of the project. Well, you just there's my son. So let's go back. Ask the question: how's the project? How's the progress of the project? Okay. There are different ways actually to answer that question. One way is to give me a percentage of the work that was done. So let's say in the example, we're done with 3 units. So 3 units out of the 12 units, you have 25%. So we can tell our boss or our client, we're 25% done of the project. Well, they might fit primarily because you only 25% of the project. That doesn't look good to him. Another way to report the percentage in terms of the time elapsed. So you can say, well, we're 50% done because 2 weeks have elapsed and we have 4 weeks into our schedule. So we can say that the project is 50% done. Now, this is a little bit of a cheat. Your boss actually see through your cheat and say, no, 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 that you're just telling me how long or how many days have elapsed. That's essentially not the same as how far the project is progressing. A third is you can report to him how much of the budget has actually been spent. So we can say, well, sir, boss, we're already 60% done, primarily because we've used up 60% of the resources that were allocated to us. And that resources that were allocated to us would be the total number of man hours. So 600 man hours divided by 1,000 is 60%. Now, what you see here essentially is that problem of being able to report the status of the project accurately and correctly. Because in this scenario, I actually have three ways of reporting the progress of. So this is where earned value analysis comes in. Earned value analysis is an industry standard way for us to measure how far a project is progressing, and we are also able to forecast when the project may be due and how much the project will cost at the end of the project timeline. And thirdly, we will be able to monitor how over budget, under budget, delayed or early in terms of schedule and cost we are. So we can provide what you call variances as the project progresses. By integrating these three measurements, it hopefully provides us consistent numerical indicators with which we can evaluate and compare how our project is progressing. So when we say EVA integrates all three, we are saying that EVA compares the planned amount of work with what has actually been completed to determine if cost, schedule, and work accomplished are progressing as planned. As we progress into the project timeline, work is earned or credited only as that particular work is complete. Okay, so that's the end of slide set 1. For this slide set, we basically answered the question, why do EVA? What's the problem if we don't have a standard way of measuring the progress of a project? Okay, so let's move on to um, 2. There's no online quiz yet for this part of the lecture.